Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. We're here at the amazing and totally very cold Netherlands, and I don't know how the US is doing in Maryland, but supposedly it's been raining and having hurricanes, so it's probably not so warm there either. And we are here to share our headlines. So let's get that started. Today on Before Coffee, the Netherlands is entering winter without Groningen gas for the first time in 60 years.
2 Russians and 1 American returned from space after over a year.
Nagorno-Karabakh separatist government says it will dissolve.
And we spin the squeal of fortune again to see defendant Trump's co-conspirators we can talk about today.
They see Hollywood movies as a right. The Russians breaking the law to watch Barbie.
Those intriguing stories and more today on National Drink Beer Day, which is September 28th, 2023 edition of Before Coffee.
Okay, our first news story is coming out of the Netherlands. This is from Rob Coaster on NOS, the economics reporter. From next Sunday, gas will no longer be pumped from Groningen field at all due to the risk of earthquakes. We were just talking about this 2 weeks ago, how earthquakes started in the Netherlands, and everyone knew it was the gas fields. Only the gas field in the North Sea will still supply a substantial amount of Dutch gas. The vast majority of gas used in the Netherlands now comes from abroad. Due to the war in Ukraine, pipeline gas no longer comes from Russia. The Netherlands is therefore mainly dependent on gas from Norway and liquefied gas, LNG, from the United States and the Middle East. Or we could just stop using gas altogether. That sounds like a plan. The total amount of gas the Netherlands imports is greater than the amount used because the Netherlands is a transit country for gas. Some of the gas goes further into Europe via Germany or Belgium. The capacity of importing liquefied gas comes from other parts of the world has been significantly expanded. For example, the Gate terminal in Rotterdam has been expanded, and the capacity of the new floating terminal in Eemshaven is also being further increased. Last year, after the outbreak of war in Ukraine, there were major concerns about security of supply due to the loss of Russian gas. The Netherlands is in a much better position this winter, says Bart Jan Hoevers, director of the Gasoline Transport Services. The gas storage facilities are almost at 100% full, and that is the best position you can wish for at the beginning of winter, given the circumstances. Filling the gas stores did not go completely without a hitch. The Dutch government, through Energie Beheer Nederland, has persuaded companies to store gas for next winter despite the high gas price. This summer, the cabinet allocated an additional 210 million euros for this purpose, in order to increase the filling rate above 80%. The gas that the Netherlands imports is not directly suitable for Dutch gas stoves and central heating boilers. The Groningen field contains low calorific gas, and the import gas is highly calorific. Dutch households are not forced to purchase other equipment because the Dutch government wants to get rid of the gas completely in the coming years. Thank you. That sounds like the smartest thing I've ever heard. That is why gasoline adds nitrogen to the import gas. This makes it similar composition to Groningen gas and makes it suitable for cooking and heating homes. The amount of gas that needs to be supplied with nitrogen has increased significantly. That is why a new nitrogen factory has been built next to the mixing plant in Zoutbroek in Groningen. Despite the problems during construction, the factory managed to be partially operational this weekend, when the Groningen field is closed. In principle, there's enough gas to get through the winter, but the global gas market remains tight and is therefore extremely sensitive to price fluctuations. For example, the gas price in the Netherlands rose sharply because of maintenance work on gas installations in Norway. took longer than expected. A threatened strike in Australia also immediately led to the higher gas price in the Netherlands. These prices are determined by supply and demand on the world market, not by gasoline. Gas prices are more likely to rise than fall, but the chances that the gas prices will rise even further is greater than the chance of decline in the short term. Hoover's thinks at the moment gas costs 2.3 to 3 times as much as we're used to. If there were new setbacks, the price could rise further. The room for reduction is relatively limited because the market is currently so tight. So my expectation is that the price will remain high for a while. How about you just don't raise the price of the gas? I don't understand this. Like, the market is telling us we have to raise the price. What? No, just say we're not selling it for that much, and then everyone will buy your gas.
That's the problem. People speculate on futures.
Exactly. Oh, but what about the stock prices? Who cares? People need gas to warm their homes during the winter. I don't see the fucking problem here.
The stock speculators are the ones that are rewarded first.
Yeah.
Yeah, those people. Forget the commodity itself.
Due to the well-stocked gas reserves, the Netherlands can also cope with cold winter. Yet, in theory, it could still be exciting if such a cold winter coincides with technical problems with the supply of gas from abroad. Exciting, yeah, that's what we want to call it. People almost dying in their homes. Exciting. In that case, I mean, this is an economics reporter, so I see why they think it's exciting, but
it's like
people who care about people don't think it's exciting that people might freeze to death.
It bleeds, it leads.
In that case, the discussion about pumping gas from Groningen field could also flare up again, partly due to the pressures from abroad. The Netherlands has not yet completely closed the gas wells due to the tightness on the international gas market. The Groningen fields will stand by for another year. If necessary, Groningen gas can still be extracted.
So
there's the future.
Prices.
People might start dying, and then, we have to open up the natural gas fields because people are dying. Or, I don't know, get them a heater. I don't know. I currently have a heater that does not run on gas above my head. It's like a ceiling heater. I can't remember the word for it right now. Induction. That doesn't use gas. People could get those. They could give people subsidies to buy them, but instead they're just doing the gas thing.
Well, they convinced people in the West, and America convinced us, well, gas comes free out of the ground. It's going to be cheaper than oil. But no, it doesn't work that way because speculators get a hold of it. So that's the way it works. You know, it's free coming out of the ground. They're completely right. It's just gas being created by Earth. You know, we're just releasing it, right?
Yeah.
But as free as it is coming out of the ground, they still have to make a profit. So the price goes up because of speculation. And so here we are at another, commodity being, well, it's always been that way, right? As far as commodity markets. You put it on the market and people bid on it, see what it's going to be worth in the future. They start a futures market and so forth and so on. And that's the way the world goes round.
Well, that's my story, so you're free to go.
I don't know. All right, in space news, this is from AP reporter Marcia Dunn. A NASA astronaut and 2 Russian cosmonauts returned to Earth on Wednesday after being stuck in space for just over a year. American Frank Rubio set a record for the longest U.S. space flight, a result of an extended stay. The trio landed in a remote area of Kazakhstan and is descending in a Soyuz capsule that was rushed up as a replacement after their original ride was hit by space junk and lost all of its coolant while docked at the International Space Station. Oh, good thing there's no more space junk anymore. Oh, wait. What should have been a 180-day mission turned into a 371-day stay. Rubio spent more than 2 weeks longer in space than Mark Vande Hey, who has held NASA's previous endurance record for a single space flight. Russia holds the world record of 437 days set in the mid-1990s. So they're like, eat our dust. We can stay in space longer. The Soyuz capsule that brought Rubio and the cosmonauts Sergei Prokopyev and Dmitry Petelin back was a replacement launched in February. Russian engineers suspect a piece of space junk pierced the radiator of the original capsule late last year. Midway through it should have been a 6-month mission. Engineers worried that without the cooling, the capsule's electronics and any occupants could overheat to dangerous levels, so the craft returned empty. There wasn't another Soyuz to launch a fresh crew until this month. The replacements finally arrived nearly 2 weeks ago. No one deserves to go home to their families more than you, the space station's new commander, Denmark's Andreas Morgensen, said earlier this week. Prokopyev told ground controllers throughout the descent that all three were feeling good. They experienced more than 4 times the force of gravity as their capsules streaked through the atmosphere and came to a touchdown in the barren Kazakh steppes, ending up on its side. Helicopters moved in with recovery crews to fetch the astronauts. It's good to be home, Rubio said after being pulled from the capsule. Rubio, 47, an Army doctor and helicopter pilot, said at a news conference last week that he never would have agreed to a full year in space if he asked at the outset. He ended up missing important family milestones, including the oldest of his 4 children finishing her first year in the Naval Academy and another heading off to West Point. Rubio said that the psychological aspect of spending so long in space was tougher than he expected. He may hold on to the record for a while. NASA has no plans as of now for more year-long missions. It was the first space flight for Rubio and Petelin, 40 as an engineer. Prokopyev, well, I can't pronounce his name no matter how I try, 48, an engineer and pilot, has now pulled 2 long station stints. Station stints is really hard to say. Station stints. They logged 157 miles, which is 253 million kilometers, since launching from Kazakhstan last September and circled the world nearly 6,000 times. Yes, they have got a lot of frequent flyer miles with American Airlines. No, we're not going to plug American Airlines or any airline for that matter. So that's our story. Now these people have got to, I don't know if they call it recompress or decompress, but there's no air pressure in outer space and there's no gravity. So when they get to Earth, they weigh, their arm probably weighs 80 pounds. Can't lift my arm. Yeah, they legitimately lose all muscle tone. So that's what they're going through right now.
Yeah, that's
your story.
Sucks. Completely sucks.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay.
They can't even walk. They can't walk on Earth.
They have to be carried around, yeah.
Yeah, the wheelchairs.
Physical therapy. More physical therapy. In European news, Nagorno-Karabakh separatist movement.
Hold on. This Wheel of Fortune.
You want to do Squeal of Fortune?
I can do something. Yeah, while you're doing, I looked up the story.
All right.
Sorry. Didn't mean
Let's
to kill
go
your
ahead
momentum.
and spin the Squeal of Fortune. We're completely off, but that's okay.
That's all right.
Let's go ahead and spin it. I didn't share it with you, so you can't see it, but I'll let you know when it spins.
Let her go.
It's Misty Hampton.
Misty Hampton. Doesn't that sound like a convenient name to look up? All right. Your story.
All right. In European news, this is from Peter Sauer. The separatist government of Nagorno-Karabakh has announced it will dissolve itself and that the unrecognized republic will cease to exist by the start of next year. The president of Armenia's self-declared Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, Samvel Shahar-Manania, signed a decree to dissolve all state institutions by the 1st of January 2024. Karabakh Armenian authorities said in a statement. The republic will cease to exist from that day, the decree said. More than half of Nagorno-Karabakh's population has fled to Armenia in what the country described as ethnic cleansing after a 24-hour blitz last week by Azerbaijan to reclaim full control over the breakaway region. The decree had said the local population must familiarize themselves with the conditions of reintegration presented by the Republic of Azerbaijan and make an independent and individual decision on whether to stay or leave the region. The assault by the Azerbaijani army forced local authorities to agree to lay down weapons and start talks on Nagorno-Karabakh's reintegration into Azerbaijan. Nagorno-Karabakh, which declared independence in 1991, was run by ethnic Armenian separatist authorities for about 30 years. A spokesperson for Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan said on Thursday that 68,386 people from Nagorno-Karabakh had crossed into the country, more than half of the 120,000 ethnic Armenians believed to be living in the Karabakh before the last round of fighting. It is a pretty big region. Yeah, it's huge. And it's right in the middle. Pashinyan warned in the coming days no Armenians could remain in the region, calling the exodus an ethnic cleansing. This is a direct act of ethnic cleansing, something we had long been warning the international community about, Pashinyan said at a government sitting. Okay, first of all, this guy who is also an Armenian, so he's not exactly a neutral party. He's the Prime Minister of Armenia. And he's saying, you all have to leave. First of all, he said, he warns people they should leave. And then he says, oh, you guys left? This is an ethnic cleansing. What? You told them that they need to leave or they're gonna die. So you're fear-mongering and telling them, oh, if you stay in Azerbaijan, they're gonna get you. And then you're saying, look, they're forcing them out. They're forcing them to leave. You're the one telling them that they need to leave or they're gonna die. It might be an ethnic cleansing. I'm not trying to defend Azerbaijan here, but it's just weird that both things are coming from the same guy who happens to be Armenian, okay? I know Armenians have suffered genocide before, so they are very careful about not letting it happen again, as should the international community. They should also be worried about that happening again. But as far as I can hear, nobody's getting murdered or massacred. They're just leaving the country. Okay, so does that suck? Yes. Is their family from there for generations? Probably. But at least they're not dead. And they can always just, I don't know, is Azerbaijan really that different?
I don't even know.
The thing for me, right, as somebody who studied Europe, the thing for me that I always discover about these countries that are constantly fighting each other is like there's a couple things they don't agree on and they decide they're too different to get along, right? Yeah. Oh, you believe in that God. We can never get along, you know?
And politicians play up the differences because it's a dividing one.
Exactly.
They always do.
That's why I'm seeing it as very suspicious that the Prime Minister of Armenia is the one saying all these things.
Look at those people over there. They eat with the fork on the left. What is that? What is that? What are they up to? What are they trying to conspire to do to us and our right-handed eating fork people over here?
He also called for international actions to undertake concrete actions against Azerbaijan. If no relevant political or legal decision follow the statements, the condemnation become acts of given consent to what's happening, he said. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken previously urged Azerbaijani's President Ilham Aliyev to refrain from further hostilities in the region, provide assurances to his residents, and allow access to an international observer mission. That sounds like a great plan. Somebody who has no stakes in the game should definitely go see what's going on. I think we're going to see that the vast majority of people in Karabakh leaving for Armenia, said Thomas DeWall, a senior fellow at Carnegie Europe think tank. They are being told to integrate into Azerbaijan, a country that they've never been part of, and most of them don't even speak the language, are being told to dismantle their local institutions. That's an offer that most people in Karabakh will not accept. Azerbaijani authorities announced on Thursday they had charged the separatist region's former leader, Ruben Vardanyan with financing terrorism and other crimes. Vardanyan, a wealthy businessman who served as the state minister of Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, was detained a day earlier as he tried to cross the border into Armenia. A court in Baku ruled Vardanyan should be arrested and placed in pretrial detention for 4 months. So, it's the fall of a republic, and we will only see what happens years to come, because you can't see this stuff happening on the ground. I mean, there is something happening on the ground. People are fleeing to Armenia.
We have to go to field reporting to get the real stories. At some
I get
point.
the language
let's start
problem.
doing that.
Yeah.
And
I get the language problem. Oh, we don't even speak the same language.
yeah.
But that's everywhere. There's a lot of places like that everywhere.
They should learn each other's language.
Yeah.
It
Maybe.
doesn't seem that hard.
Also, you could just stay there and force them to learn your own language if they want to talk to you. So that's also fun. You can just
Maybe
stick
write
your
songs in
heels
each
in and
other's
say,
language.
what are you going to kill me for speaking Armenian, you know? And then you'll have a
Yeah.
genocide, I guess, if they start killing people because they speak
Start a bunch of
Armenian.
sing-alongs. Okay.
That's the end of my story.
All right. So as we reported yesterday, a judge ruled Tuesday that Donald Trump committed fraud for years while building a real estate empire that catapulted him to fame and to the White House. And he ordered some of his former president's companies be removed from his control and dissolved. So Trump organization is being dissolved by the courts because he's basically a criminal enterprise. But we want him to be president, don't ya? Oh boy. Guy who's had his criminal enterprise dissolved by the state of New York so far. But again, he's a crooked operation. Well, we're going to look at his co-conspirators in the election overturning, at least in the election overturning situation that he tried to do. And this is from CNN Politics, and I don't have a byline. So here we go. The sprawling racketeering allegations from what's called Crooked Coffee County, Georgia. Crooked Coffee, they called it. And it's by Ellie Reeve and what's the other name? Samantha Guff. Okay. Ellie Reeve and Samantha Guff of CNN. And it's called Indictment. Crooked Coffee, the alleged election office breach in the Trump indictment was part of a long-term pattern, some locals say. The sprawling racketeering allegations spread from centers of power with pressures on the vice president to ignore the Constitution, reported calls to secretaries of state to change vote counts, and the creation of slates of fake electors for Congress. They also included the invitation of a tech team to a non-public area of a small-town administration building. But to some people in Coffee County, deep in southern Georgia and far from interstates, the alleged crimes were merely the latest chapter in the local history of failing to secure the rights and votes of residents, and they worry it's a history that will repeat. Among the 19 mugshots that flowed from the charges brought 200 miles north in Atlanta were faces that were familiar to in Douglas, the seat of Coffee County. Prosecutors alleged that the former county party chair Kathy Latham and former election supervisor Misty Hampton. So we're going to cover Kathy Latham again here. So here we are. Misty Hampton also helped to facilitate employees to a firm hired by Trump attorneys to access and copy sensitive voter data and election software. So when they're accusing people of cheating in elections, they're the ones doing it. Surveillance video captured Latham waving the visitors inside and Hampton in the office as they allegedly accessed the data. Both have pleaded not guilty. Well, when you're caught red-handed, plead not guilty. Mike Clark, owner of some small business in Douglas, said he was struck by the way the surveillance footage showed the election officials entering the building in broad daylight. You walk inside the voter registration office with no mask on and they just give you the votes. They would just give them to you. Why? Why would that be, Clark said. That shows you right there. It ain't just started, it's always been just like that. Douglas City Commissioner Kentawan Durham agreed. That's what power and privilege do. It makes you feel as if you can do anything you want to do, she said. They thought they were above the law, above the Constitution. Durham, who like Clark is black, thought it would be a whole different ballgame if it was his face in the surveillance footage. Douglas is a majority black city, and the surrounding coffee is about 68% white and 29% black. Like many places in the South, black citizens have had to fight for democratic rights in court, repeatedly suing for representative districts for the election of local officials since 1970s. In the late summer, it's unbearably hot, so hot that you can sit outside. That if you sit outside too long, people ask you if you're crazy. If you have a latent Southern accent, the town will draw it out. When CNN asked local people how to put the alleged election office breach in the broader context of voting rights in the county, nearly everyone suggested we speak to Miss Libby, or Olivia Cooley Pearson, is a Douglas City Commissioner, the first black woman elected to the position. She's a tall woman who wore a Barbie pink blazer when we met. And like many others CNN spoke with in Coffee County, she saw the involvement of her county in the alleged Trump scheme as part of a long local pattern of voter suppression and intimidation. The two things the South is really good at. There's power, a certain amount of power and control when you're in certain offices. Coley Peterson told CNN, some people will do whatever it takes to maintain it, and it takes voter intimidation to do it. Some people willing to intimidate to maintain that power and control. Coley Peterson, named to a human rights hero by the American Bar Association, follows in the footsteps of her mother, who was a political activist in Coffee County in the 1970s, a decade after segregationist Governor Lester Maddox had picked the county to host one of his many speeches. Gladys Cooley is commemorated with others in a memorial plaque for fighting for civil rights in Douglas and across the county, and the country for that matter. Coley Pearson is well known for helping people who may need a ride to the polls. Not everyone around town appreciates her efforts, however. In a Facebook Live video posted a couple days before the alleged breach, Latham complained about Coley Peterson's get out the votes effort for Georgia's runoff elections in the Senate. Olivia Pearson is up to her normal handing out hamburgers and hot dogs to people who voted and stuff, Latham said, running her fingers through her cropped blonde hair in apparent exasperation. So all kinds of things happen in Coffee County just to get people to come and vote. Yeah, it's not a really good situation. Down here, oh yeah, people voting, not a good situation. That's the way the white people lose. Coffee County, see it. Oh no, black people are voting.
Yeah.
Latham, who obviously, now we see she said that, is a virulent racist. We got out the vote fraud, she said. She has not responded to CNN's request for comment. She actually said, we got out the vote fraud. We got to whatever.
Black people voting is voting fraud, dude.
Exactly.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah. Taking people to the polls who've lived their entire lives. They're obviously cheating. Yeah. Okay, got it. Coley Pearson had tangled with local officials over voter access several times. Georgia law allows people who are disabled or illiterate to get assistance with voting, and Coley Pearson helped with that in 2012. At the time, it seemed uneventful, but Coffee County officials complained to the Georgia Secretary of State that she helped people who didn't qualify for assistance. It led to a years-long investigation, and although the state didn't prosecute her, she was charged locally with 2 felonies. After one ended in a hung jury, she was found not guilty the second, 2018. They had put somebody on trial for helping people to vote. What a place. Then, during the early voting of October 2020, Coley Pearson asked a question about the buttons on the voting machine, sparking a confrontation with then-elected Supervisor Misty Hampton. Coley Pearson says Hampton was hollering that she was not to touch the machine. Hampton, who is white, has said in this position that she spoke in a normal voice and told Coley Pearson she was being disruptive. The voter Coley Pearson assisted said in a disposition she felt afraid of Hampton. Well, she is a scary-looking, Karen-looking lady. I don't want to generalize, but she looks like she would be, oh my God, you're playing that Hispanic music in the park.
Yeah.
Get the cops.
This is serious crime against me only and me only.
People are voting. Well, we've seen enough of these people. This is a long article. I didn't realize I was tapping into here, but it's like when, all right, that's enough. That's enough. So yeah, we've getting we're getting into who Misty Hampton is. She suppresses votes of the black folks and tries to tamper with election equipment. So she's going to federal prison. She really doesn't have a chance to squeal on Trump unless Trump actually talked to her. But hey, enjoy the stripes. Enjoy the orange jumpsuit. Ought to be a fun fit for you. Your story.
All right. In culture news, we've got Russians illegally watching films because they believe it's their right of freedom. This is Will McCurdy on The Guardian. As the war in Ukraine grinds on, civil liberties rapidly evaporate, and a currency spirals ever downward. Trips to the cinema may be least of the average Russian's worries. Hollywood studios pulled its films out of Russia back in March 2022, but that hasn't stopped many Russians from enjoying them as vibrant illegal market for screenings of globally popular films such as Barbie and Oppenheimer has emerged in Russia's largest cities, including Moscow, St. Petersburg, and Kazan. Anton Dolin, who until recently was editor of Iskustvo Kino, one of Russia's oldest and most popular film magazines, was forced to leave the country in 2022 after being targeted by pro-war ultranationalists. Speaking from Riga in Latvia, where he is currently living, Dolan says that the popularity of these screenings reflects the attitudes of Russians who don't agree with the war, and as a result feel that the removal of Hollywood films is another example of the privileges they once enjoyed being taken away as a result. Going to see Barbie, in a sense, represents a reclaiming of the lifestyle they had before the war. They've seen Hollywood. They've been watching Hollywood movies as a right. They see watching Hollywood movies as a right. I can read. The Hollywood boycott, which began shortly after the invasion of Ukraine, means that Russia's cinema chains cannot legally show Hollywood movies. However, this has now likely been breached by circuitous means, despite the studio's use of digital watermarks to track piracy, either by leaks from neighboring Russian-speaking countries or by hacks of official release streams. Barbie, for example, was released to home entertainment formats in the US and UK on the 12th of September, and tickets in Russia were reportedly on sale for cinema screenings a couple days after. Russia's Ministry of Culture, which has the power to ban any film, has thrown a further spanner into the works by refusing to license screenings of either film, stating that neither meets the objectives of preserving and strengthening traditional Russian spiritual values. All this was a radical change for what was one of the largest theatrical markets in the world. As recently as 2019, Russia had the 9th largest box office revenues outside North America, ahead of Australia and Brazil, and not far behind India and Germany. Dolan says it is virtually impossible for anyone outside the Russian police to compile accurate statistics about how common these screenings, a significant parallel economy, really are. However, he suggests that the biggest hits, such as Barbie, may have grossed up to $200 million in total in Russia. A film goer called Alexei in Nizhny Novgorod, Russia's 6th largest city, with whom The Guardian communicated via Reddit, says the romantic notions that screenings take place in heavily guarded and underground bunkers with muscle-bound bouncers, secret passcodes, and payments in the Bitcoin are way off. It was, he says, a pretty normal movie show. Still, things are fairly secretive by conventional standards. According to Victor from St. Petersburg, who spoke to Guardian via WhatsApp, there are no posters, outdoor advertising, or local TV ads as there normally would be for big Hollywood movies. Tickets aren't advertised on the movie theater's website either, and the only way to find out about the showings are via friends or the cinema's social media. A random visitor wouldn't even know they were showing these films. How the whole thing works is that they technically don't sell the tickets to Hollywood movies. They sell them for Russian movies and show you a Hollywood one as a free preview screening. Victor says it's not uncommon for these showings to be advertised on social media under a different name to make things a little bit less obvious. According to Tatarstan publication Relno Vrema, Barbie was advertised under the title Speed Dating and Oppenheimer as Dubak by a movie theater in Moscow, while in the Tatar city of Kazan, Barbie is billed as pre-show service for Boom Boom Fisherman's Daughter. This is done in order to make it seem as if they're don't earn any money from showing the Hollywood films. Victor says he has seen both Barbie and Oppenheimer, and the audience was mainly young people, teenagers to people in their mid-20s. He suggests around 15 to 25 will attend on work nights, but much more at the weekend. I don't think older people are interested in movies like Barbie, especially in Russia. This isn't the first time the Russians have flocked to underground Hollywood screenings. In a way, this harks back to the traditions of the Soviet era. In the late 1980s, classics such as The Terminator, Nightmare on Elm Street, Aliens, and Mad Max were shown illegally all over Soviet world, although these video salons were small rooms playing pirated VHS tapes with amateur voice dubbing. often with a single actor performing almost every character in the movie. That's pretty funny to think about. Dolan says that the authorities don't seem to be cracking down on the current wave of screenings, unlike, say, the banning of Armando Iannucci's 2017 comedy The Death of Stalin, or the 2006 movie Borat, which was denied a license for offending the close Russian ally Kazakhstan. More of an issue is whether they fall foul of Russian morality laws, which have strict regulations curtailing the promotion of what they see as LGBT propaganda. Though both Victor and Alexei say that Ken's kiss scene in Barbie was shown unaltered in the screenings they attended. The popularity of Barbie and Oppenheimer contrasts sharply with that of the state-backed movies The Witness, released earlier this year. Having received funding from the Russian government, The Witness showed the war in Ukraine from a nationalist perspective. So it was a propaganda film, basically, is what they're saying. After being many of the most serious attacks, including civilian massacres in Bucha and the shelling of a maternity hospital in Mariupol, to the Ukrainian military. Ah, yes, they bombed their own people. We don't know why, but that's what happened. The movie reportedly didn't attract very many viewers at all, with only 4 people showing up to its first screening in Minsk in Belarus. Alexei says he will keep going to illegal screenings in the future, as he is doubtful that the potential of homegrown Russian movie industry to fill the current void in the market. I don't see why I wouldn't go to another one. For me, as a viewer, and nothing has changed much. I almost never watch Russian movies. I've never been a fan of our movie industry. A good Russian-made film comes out once in a blue moon. So there you go. Russians don't give a shit about Russian films because they're bad, and they will continue to illegally watch all of the banned films that they can't watch. So there you go.
So I guess when your state media has always kind of just said, well, what's the propaganda value in this movie? That's what they've always asked, and they don't see propaganda value in it. They assume it's propaganda the other way. All right. So, if you're not promoting Russian propaganda, whose propaganda are you promoting? In other words. Okay, so this is this day in history, which is in the year 351, Roman Emperor Constantius II defeated usurper Magnetus in the Battle of Mursa, the bloodiest battle of the 4th century. If you're keeping track in your scoreboard at home, that was the bloodiest battle of the 4th century. Everybody in it is now dead. 1066, William, the Duke of Normandy, landed in southeast England, thus began the Norman conquest, which resulted in his becoming king. That happened on September 28th. And in 1791, the Siege of Yorktown began, eventually leading to, on October 19th, to the British surrender by General Lord Cornwallis at the end of the American Revolution. In 1911, using the pretext infringement of Italian interests in the Turkish provinces of Tripolitania and Cyrenaica, well, I know I said that wrong, Cyrenaica, which is now called Libya, the Italian government issued an ultimatum to Turkey and declared war the next day. That happened in 1911 when people were getting war fever back in those days. Legitimately. That meant a war, a big one in a while, and then World War I started, and yeah, we had a big one. 1920, in what became known as the Black Sox scandal, 8 members of the Chicago White Sox baseball team were indicted by a grand jury of charges they had thrown the 1919 World Series to the Cincinnati Reds in return for bribes. In 1958, Madagascar voted for autonomy within the French community. In 2003, tennis player Althea Gibson, the first African-American to win single titles at the French Open, Wimbledon, and the U.S. Open, which she did back in the 50s, well, she died at the age of 76. In 2008, SpaceX successfully launched Falcon 1, becoming the first privately owned company to send a liquid-fueled rocket into orbit. In 2016, Polish-born Israeli statesman Shimon Peres, who served as prime minister from 84 to 86, 95 to 96, and president from 07 to 14 in Israel, and shared the Nobel Prize for Peace in 1994 for helping negotiate the Oslo Accords, which was a historic Israeli PLO peace agreement, which people keep getting peace prizes for the Israeli PLO thing, and nothing ever gets solved. Anyway, Shimon Peres died at this day in 2016. And our featured event is what? Me hitting the cough button. Sorry. All right. Featured event is California was discovered. That's right. Explorer Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo, known as Discoverer of California, landed this day in 1542 near what is now San Diego and became the first European to set foot on the west coast of what would become the United States. All right. And our feature biography, Brigitte Bardot, was born in this day. French actress. She was born September 28th, 1934, and she is 88. And other birthdays are Sheikh Hasina Wazad, Prime Minister of Bangladesh. She was born in 1947. Lata Mangeshkar, Indian singer, was born in 1929. Peter Finch, British actor, was born in 1960. And Max Schmeling, German boxer, was born in 1905. Had a lot of famous fights back in the day. And what day is it? National Day calendar. It is National Good Neighbor Day. Should be always National Good Neighbor Day, don't you agree? Also National Strawberry Cream Pie Day. And National North Carolina Day, September 28th. And also, coughing, National Drink Beer Day. So I'm going to sign off, so I got to have a cough attack. Your story.
It's the end of Before Coffee here on Thursday, our big news dump on Thursday, and we will see you tomorrow on Friday to find out what we're going to cover before the weekend. If there's any news stories you think we didn't cover this week or we haven't covered at all, go ahead and say it down in the comments or message it, whatever. You know where to find us, and we'll try to cover it tomorrow on Friday.
And this is Roger fighting a cold. Sorry about the coughing. We'll be ready tomorrow. Even if we aren't ready, we're still going to do a show. And it's going to be Friday, but that's all for today. Good morning, and Before Coffee for September 28, 2023 edition of the comprehensive news of planet Earth, Before Coffee. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.